There is a sacred whisper moving through the atmosphere right now, not in the roar of thunder or the clamor of noise, but in the quiet stirrings of your spirit, where God is gently, unmistakably calling your name, not just to comfort you, but to awaken you, to prepare you, to guide you toward a divine doorway that no other soul around you may recognize, a passage created and reserved solely for you, hidden in plain sight, invisible to the doubters and dismissive to those who walk by sight, but clear and radiant to the heart that walks by faith. You have been waiting, haven't you? Waiting for something to break, for clarity to come, for all the confusion and weariness to make sense. And yet, while others are running in circles, trying to force open the wrong doors or mourning the ones that have closed, heaven has been crafting a new entryway for you, one not marked by status or logic or human approval, but by divine favor and perfect timing. God says this door does not look like what you've been expecting. It's not painted with worldly success. It does not shout for attention, and it may even appear disguised as disappointment, obscure behind a trial, a setback, or a silence that tested every ounce of your faith. But it is real, it is sacred, and it is opening now. This is the door that leads into the season your soul was born for, the one that requires not perfect conditions, but a perfect surrender. You must step through it without needing to see the whole path, because your breakthrough is not at the destination. It begins with the decision. God is asking you to step out of the patterns that have confined you, out of the lies that have limited you, out of the fears that have kept you pacing behind walls He never intended you to remain behind. For too long, you have mistaken the waiting room for a prison, but it was never meant to punish you. It was the preparation space where God stretched your patience, tested your vision, and tuned your ears to hear the frequency of His whisper even when the world screamed the opposite. And now, in this very hour, the lock is turning. You can't see it with your physical eyes yet, but in the realm of the Spirit, the door is swinging open. It will not open to your striving, but to your stillness, not to your panic, but to your peace, not to your calculations, but to your obedience. God is not asking you to understand everything, only to trust Him enough to move when He says move, even if those around you don't comprehend, even if the path ahead feels uncertain. He reminds you of Abraham, who left without knowing his destination, and of Moses, who walked forward through a sea that hadn't yet split, and of Mary, who said yes to the impossible with nothing but faith in the one who promised. You are being called into that same lineage of bold, quiet faith, the kind that shifts atmospheres, the kind that moves heaven, the kind that unlocks doors sealed by man, but ordained to open at God's voice alone. You will know this door by its peace, by the stirring in your spirit that won't let you stay where you've been, by the divine nudges that keep drawing you towards something more, something deeper, something holier. Do not wait for the world confirmation. Do not wait until it makes sense to the minds of others. Your door is not meant to be understood by those who are not called to walk through it. You have outgrown the room you've been in. It's time to stop apologizing for it. This door is your invitation out of limitation, out of mourning, out of spiritual dormancy, and into alignment, into expansion, into divine assignment. And yes, there will be resistance. The enemy knows something is shifting. That's why the attacks intensified. That's why the anxiety flared up. That's why everything tried to distract you just before this moment. But none of it can stop what God has already begun. This is not just a new chapter. It is an entirely new book being written about you in heaven's records. So step forward with trembling faith if you must, but step. Because what waits on the other side is not just for your blessing. It's for the healing of others, for the breaking of generational chains, for the release of favor and gifts that have been kept in waiting for such a time as this. Heaven has already dispatched angels to guard your way, to go before you, and to ensure that this door will not shut before you reach it. But you must move. You must obey. And you must trust that if God brought you to this threshold, He will also carry you through it. You are not stepping into the unknown. You are stepping into the place that has always known your name. There is something divine moving behind the veil of your life right now. Something so sacred, so intentional, and so intricately designed by the hand of God that if you could see it all at once, your breath would catch and your knees would buckle under the sheer weight of glory He is about to pour into your existence. This is not a casual moment, not a fleeting inspiration, not just another season. This is the fulfillment of whispered promises you've carried in silence, the manifestation of things you barely dared to believe could be true, the holy unveiling of a door crafted not by human hands, but carved out of divine timing, divine mercy, and divine strategy. And God is telling you now, again, with unmistakable urgency and eternal love pulsing in every syllable. Step through it with faith, not fear. For too long, you have stood before closed doors, knocking until your knuckles bled, waiting for people who are never meant to be your confirmation, hoping for circumstances to align that were never part of your divine design, looking backward at what broke, at what didn't last, at what seemed like lost time. But heaven wants you to know there was never a moment wasted, never a tear unseen, never a prayer unheard. You weren't being punished. You were being prepared, shaped, and sanctified for the door that no one else can even see, much less access. Others may laugh at your faith, but they weren't shown the vision. Others may question your decisions, but they weren't entrusted with the calling. The door that is opening for you now was kept hidden for a reason. Because it wasn't time, because you weren't ready, because the things God needed to remove from you would have contaminated what's on the other side. But now the shift has come. Now the release is at hand. Now the gates of heaven are beginning to open above your life. And you must walk forward even if your knees shake, even if your heart races, even if your mind is filled with questions that have no earthly answers. The path through this door requires a kind of radical faith you've only touched in glimpses until now. A faith that trusts the unseen more than the visible. A faith that follows the whisper even when thunder rages all around. A faith that says, God, even if I don't feel ready, if you're calling me, then I will go. This kind of faith is not soft, not passive, not fragile. It is the firewalker's faith, the ocean crosser's faith, the mountain mover's faith that heaven has been stirring in you since the day you were formed. You are not stepping into something ordinary. You're stepping into the space where heaven kisses earth, where destiny collides with obedience, where miracles unfold not because you force them, but because you aligned with God's perfect timing and surrendered to His perfect will. Do you not sense it? That shift in the atmosphere? That divine tension in your spirit that says something is coming, something is different, something sacred is drawing near? It is the presence of God making way for what has long been delayed but never denied. It is the signal that angels are taking position around your life. It is the vibration of divine doors unlocking with a sound not audible to the ears, but undeniable to the soul. And in this holy moment, God is asking only for your yes, not your strategy, not your perfection, not your certainty. Just your yes, just your trust, just your willingness to step forward, even if you can't see more than one step ahead. Because once you cross the threshold of this door, something irreversible will shift in the spiritual realm. Battles that have plagued your family for generations will begin to break. Cycles that seemed unending will suddenly cease. Strength you didn't know you possessed will flood your spirit. Opportunities will emerge that no human could have orchestrated, and favor will chase you down in ways you never imagined. God has already gone before you, scattering the enemy's traps, straightening the crooked places, softening hearts, arranging divine appointments, and lining up resources, connections, and revelations that you don't even know you need yet. You must understand this. This door is not the reward. It is the beginning of your deeper assignment. What's behind it isn't comfort, it's calling. It isn't ease, it's elevation. It isn't safety, it's surrender on a level that requires everything in you to burn with obedience like never before. But oh, the glory that waits for you on the other side. The kind of peace that silences storms. The kind of joy that makes the pain worth it. The kind of clarity that makes every detour suddenly make sense. And for those who stay until the very end, who step through with trembling hands and open hearts, God has prepared a gift unlike anything the world could ever offer. Restoration in places you forgot were broken, honor in places you were once shamed, acceleration in places you thought were stuck, and healing so deep it rewrites the story of your life. This is more than a door. It's a divine threshold, and your name has been written on it in the ink of eternity. Now step in faith, step in trust, step into the unseen, because what God has prepared cannot be taken from you, delayed by others, or canceled by the enemy. You were born for this exact moment, and yet, as you stand before the threshold of this invisible door, trembling not from fear, but from the overwhelming weight of heaven's nearness, know that you are not standing alone, not for one moment, not for a single breath, because all of heaven is watching, all of creation is holding its breath, waiting for you to take this sacred step, this act of bold obedience that has been written into your soul before your bones were ever woven in the secret place. The path behind you may be littered with broken dreams and shattered expectations, but God was never using your past to predict your future. He was using it to prepare you to walk through a door that no one else would recognize, no one else would understand, no one else would be equipped to walk through but you. There were moments in your life you thought were setbacks, but they were detours God designed so you would not arrive at this door too early or with the wrong people at your side. There were times you thought God was silent, when in truth He was busy building this exact opportunity behind the curtain of your life, testing your character, shaping your spirit, refining your discernment, so that when the time came, you wouldn't miss the door because you were too distracted by what's flashy, temporary, or popular. No, this door is hidden for a reason, because it is reserved for those who listen not with their ears, but with their spirit. It's not for the crowd, It's not for those chasing validation, and it's certainly not for those who need guarantees before they move. This door is for the quiet ones, the prayer warriors, the brokenhearted who kept praising through tears, the ones who gave even when no one noticed, the ones who walked away from counterfeit blessings even when it hurt, the ones who wrestled with God in the midnight hour and still said, "Your will, not mine." And God saw it all. Every seed you sowed in faith, every night you stayed awake asking, "God, when is it my turn?" Every moment you chose peace instead of revenge, grace instead of bitterness, obedience instead of recognition. And now, heaven is responding. Now, the invisible has begun to take form. You may not have felt it yet, but the spiritual realm is already trembling because of what's coming toward you. Angels are already in position, guarding the path before you. Doors that have been sealed for generations in your bloodline are now creaking open under the authority of your yes. The enemy is panicking because the moment you step through this threshold, everything he's tried to delay will accelerate. Everything he's tried to destroy will be resurrected, and everything he's tried to confuse will become crystal clear in the light of God's glory. You must not doubt this. You must not shrink back. You must not let the weight of the unknown paralyze you, because what's unknown to you is already finished in the eyes of God. He has gone before you with fire and with power, with provision and with plans, with answers you haven't even known how to ask for yet. And do you know why you're feeling the tug, the urgency, the pull in your spirit right now? Because the door is opening. Not next year, not in the distant future, but now. You are not randomly brought here. This is a divine appointment. This very message, this very confirmation was sent as a sign, a supernatural echo of God's voice saying, "It's time." And don't let the fact that others don't see it stop you, because when you step through this door, you will step out of invisibility. The same people who overlooked you, underestimated you, rejected you, or tried to write you off will witness what happens when someone chooses obedience over fear. God will elevate you in ways they can't explain, not to make you proud, but to make his glory undeniable. You will become a sign to others that unseen doors are the real ones, that faith walks lead to favor paths, that when God is your source, you don't need connections, explanations, or applause. You just need him. And because you trusted him in the drought, you will now flourish in the flood. You will look back one day and realize this was the moment everything changed. Not because life got easier, but because you got bolder. Because you stopped asking for confirmation and started trusting God's first word. Because you realize that what lies on the other side of obedience isn't just your breakthrough. It's the breakthrough of every soul tied to your assignment. There are lives waiting for you on the other side of this door. There are destinies waiting to be activated by your courage. There are generations that will rise because you said yes when fear told you to wait. And in this divine unfolding, you will begin to understand what it means when heaven says, "What I open, no man can shut." You will see doors swing wide that were never meant to stay closed. You will encounter favor that doesn't make sense. You will walk into rooms you weren't invited to, but were created for. And you will carry a fragrance of glory that cannot be faked, a peace that cannot be shaken, and a confidence that comes not from who you are, but from whose you are. God is not just opening a door for your success. He is opening a door into the next chapter of your destiny, into your spiritual authority, into your divine purpose. And when you step through it, there will be a ripple effect in the spirit so massive that even the heavens will rejoice. And for those who stay until the very end of this sacred journey, heaven has hidden a secret treasure, a divine reward so personal and profound that it will feel as if God wrote it just for you. A restoration of all that was lost, a release of all that was promised, and a resurrection of every part of your soul that went silent in the waiting. Don't miss it. Don't second guess it. The door is open. Step through. Faith first. Answers later. God is waiting on the other side. And now, beloved soul, as you find yourself face to face with this unseen door that heaven alone has carved into the fabric of your destiny, the air around you begins to feel different, charged with divine electricity, thick with a sense that something eternal is taking place, not outside of you, but within you, within the very architecture of your spirit, within the chambers of your heart that once echoed with disappointment and now beat in rhythm with heaven's hope, and even though the world around you remains unchanged on the surface. A storm has ceased in the spirit realm because your obedience has silenced what fear could no longer torment, and your courage has awakened what once lay dormant beneath layers of delay, grief, and confusion. For this is not just any door. This is the one heaven guarded with angels, the one the enemy tried to make you too tired to reach, too distracted to recognize, too wounded to believe in. And yet here you are, trembling not from uncertainty, but from the holy presence of a God who never left your side, who walked with you through nights no one else knew about, through tears no one else could interpret, through warfare no one else could see. And now, as you cross the invisible line between waiting and walking, between hoping and receiving, between delay and destiny, the spiritual atmosphere around your life begins to shift in ways you cannot explain, but your soul recognizes it like a song you once knew before birth, a sound of alignment, a vibration of heaven's orchestration moving mountains, rerouting timelines, accelerating long-forgotten promises into this very moment. This holy intersection of divine timing and human surrender, where miracles are not only possible, they are inevitable, because this door is not made of wood or metal or anything earthly, but woven of God's intentions, sewn together with every prayer you thought went unanswered, yes, you whispered when no one saw, every moment you forgave instead of, fought back, every season you stayed faithful when you had every reason to walk away, and now the reward is being unlocked, not just for what you've endured, but for who you've become while enduring, for the purity of your motives, the strength of your hidden obedience, the depth of your trust when answers were scarce and storms were relentless. And now God says, what you've been waiting to see will begin to chase you. For when you step through this door, you will not need to strive, manipulate, or beg for what has already been signed in heaven's court, sealed in divine timing, and stored in God's hand with your name written in light. And this is why the battle intensified before this moment, because the enemy knew what was on the other side. He knew your next breath would be a declaration of freedom, your next step a claim to territory heaven reserved just for you, your next choice a threat to every generational curse that thought it could survive your awakening. And now, as the final latch of this invisible door unlatches, as your spirit leans forward in quiet surrender, as the spiritual veil lifts. Heaven unveils what was hidden from every natural eye. The destiny shaped for you alone, the assignment that carries your spiritual fingerprint, the outpouring that others will call sudden, but you will know was centuries in the making, and right here, right now, God leans in close and whispers, "Watch what I do next," because this is the moment where the ordinary ends and the supernatural begins, where lost time is restored in a heartbeat, where connections align not by accident, but by divine choreography, where favor finds you not because you chased it, but because you became the version of yourself who could carry it without pride or fear. And from this moment on, what once felt far will feel near. What once confused you will clarify itself like clouds parting at dawn. And everything you thought was delayed will begin to appear in sequences so precise. You will know without a shadow of doubt that it could only be God. And He says to you now, your waiting has not been wasted. It has been working for you. And those around you will wonder how everything changed so fast, but they will not see the years you spent in private surrender, the nights you sowed in silence, the choices you made in shadows when the spotlight never called your name. But heaven saw, and now it responds not with a whisper, but with a roar, opening doors that make no sense. To the world, granting favor that outruns your qualifications, releasing healing that exceeds what medicine said was possible, sending resources that find you without explanation, restoring relationships that seem too far gone, giving you joy so profound that even grief bows in its presence. And there's more. Yes, more, because for those who stayed to the end of this message, for those who felt this was meant for them from the very beginning, a divine gift has been set aside in heavens. Treasury, a sacred confirmation so personal, it will make you weep in awe, and it will arrive not through expected channels, but in a way that leaves no doubt it was God Himself who delivered it. A text, a voice, a stranger's word, a number repeating, a dream you forgot, but suddenly remember with clarity that electrifies your spirit. And when it comes, you will know the door is not only open, it is alive with God's presence, pulsing with your purpose, ready for you to walk through, not with hesitation, but with holy boldness. For the time of waiting has ended, the time of mourning has passed, the oil of gladness is being poured out, and this door is more than an opportunity. It is a portal into the fullness of who God always knew you were becoming. And He says, step through and never look back, for everything ahead is covered in my promise, drenched in my goodness, and guarded by my glory.